Spooky season is almost upon us and I am so excited. Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. I'm your host Emily and today we're counting down our list of the top 10 terrifying Halloween real events never taught in school. So if you're into all things scary, listen up. Coming in at number 10 is the thinning of the veil. The Celts believed that Halloween, known then as Samhain, was the night that the veil between the spirit realm and the living was at its thinnest, allowing spirits and other supernatural forces to descend and cause mischief or harm. To the ancient Celts, people were transformed into cats as punishment for their bad deeds. Now those unfortunate enough to be cursed by black magic were also turned into cats, particularly black cats. The ancient Celts also felt the need to please the spirits in order to ensure that their population and livestock did not die during the harsh winter. Food and drink were often left for the fairies, and occasionally an animal was sacrificed to appease the spirits. Souls of the departed were believed to revisit their homes seeking hospitality, and in some cases, a place setting of food or drink was put on the dining table in anticipation of the visit. Mumming or wearing disguises were part of the festival and involved people going door to door in costume or disguise, reciting verse in exchange for food. This tradition then transformed into what we now call Halloween. Number 9. Black cats. The idea of being spooked by black cats dates back to the Middle Ages, when these dark felines were considered a symbol of the devil. Now, it didn't help that centuries later, accused witches were often found to have cats, particularly black ones. People began to believe that the cats were witches' familiars, supernatural entities that would assist in their practice of dark magic, or were actually shape-shifting witches themselves. In most Western cultures, black cats have typically been looked upon as a symbol of evil omens, and most of Europe considers the black cat a symbol of bad luck, particularly if one walks across the path in front of a person, which is believed to be an omen of misfortune and death. The black cat in folklore has been able to change into human shape to act as a spy or courier for witches or demons. But in contrast, the supernatural powers ascribed to black cats were sometimes viewed positively. Personally, I see them as a lucky thing, but hey, to each their own. Number 8. Devil's Night. Okay, so it seems like different places have different names for this, but Devil's Night refers to the night before Halloween on October 30th, well, at least where I'm from. It refers to the vandalism and arson of abandoned property during the time before and after Halloween. Now, Devil's Night started many years ago as Mischief Night with mild-mannered pranks such as toilet papering homes or games like Ding Dong Ditch. Now, these pranks, however, evolved into serious acts of vandalism and arson in the 1970s and have continued occurring on the days surrounding the Halloween holiday ever since. Now, Devil Night is believed to have started in Detroit and then quickly spread to other cities along the Rust Belt of the US. With rising unemployment rates, foreclosures, and economic downturns, many buildings in the metro areas were abandoned and left unattended. Now, these former homes became targets for vandals, and in the 1970s to 80s, arson cases in the 3 days and nights surrounding Halloween rose exponentially. Neighbors ended up organizing community watch programs and posted signs on abandoned buildings with the message which read, "This building is being watched," with hopes of deterring vandals. Now, I don't know about you guys, but in my family, we always brought our pumpkins inside that night because we didn't want them to get smashed. Number 7. Crimes. Halloween seems like a perfect time to commit a crime as everyone is dressed up in disguises, and there are many famous crime cases that have happened on Halloween. For example, sometime in the early hours of Halloween 1981, Manhattan couple Ronald Sisman and Elizabeth Platzman had their lives ended in their Chelsea apartment. The couple were severely beaten before being shot execution style, with the apartment completely ransacked. Our prison informant claimed that one of his fellow inmates had predicted the crime weeks before it actually happened. Now, that inmate turned out to be Son of Sam, aka David Berkowitz. David had long been rumored to be involved with a satanic cult that helped him with some of his misdeeds. Now, according to the informant, David had told him that his cult was planning to enter a residence near the Greenwich Village, and Chelsea would qualify for that, on Halloween to carry out a ritual slaying. When questioned, David claimed that Ronald had footage of one of the Son of Sam shootings and was planning to hand it over to the authorities in exchange for dropping some controlled substance charges. While no evidence was found to support David's claims, he was basically right about the description of Ronald's apartment, and the crime is still unsolved. Number 6. Carving jack-o'-lanterns. Fun fact, the tradition of carving jack-o'-lanterns originated in Ireland using turnips instead of pumpkins. Now, it's allegedly based on a legend about a man named Stingy Jack who repeatedly trapped the devil and only let him go on the condition that Jack would never go to hell. But when Jack died, he learned that heaven did not want his soul either, so he was forced to wander the earth as a ghost for eternity. The devil gave Jack a burning lump of coal in a carved-out turnip to light his way as he would stay on Earth forever. Now, locals eventually began carving scary faces into their own turnips to frighten away evil spirits, and he became known as Jack of the Lantern or Jack-o'-lantern, hence the name. Number 5. Bobbing for apples. Okay, so this isn't as terrifying, but I wanted to mention it nonetheless. The game of bobbing for apples has been a staple at Halloween parties for many years, but its origins are more rooted in love and romance. The game traces back to a courting ritual that was part of a Roman festival honoring Panoma, the goddess of agriculture and abundance. While multiple versions existed, the gist was that young men and women would be able to predict their future relationships based on the game. When the Romans conquered the British Isles in 43 AD, the Panoma festival blended with the similarly timed Samhain, a precursor to Halloween. Now, it was said when playing this game, whoever successfully bit into an apple first would be the first person in their group of friends to get married. Sometimes girls would even follow another superstition surrounding the game, which claimed that if they put the apple they bit under their pillow at night, they would see who their true love was in a dream. Now, that's just cute. Number 4. Trick-or-treating. So there's much debate around the origins of trick-or-treating, but generally there are 3 theories. The first theory suggests that during Samhain, Celtic people would leave out food to appease the spirits traveling the earth at night. Over time, people began to dress as these unearthly beings in exchange for similar offerings of food and drink. The second theory speculates that the candy bond stems from the Scottish practice of guising, which is a secular version of souling. During the Middle Ages, generally children and poor adults would collect food and money from local homes in return for prayers for the dead on All Souls Day. Geysers dropped the prayers in favor of non-religious practices, with the inclusion of songs, jokes, and other tricks. Now, a third theory argues that modern American trick-or-treating stems from bells nickeling, a German-American Christmas tradition where children would dress in costume and then call on their neighbors to see if the adults could guess the identities of the disguised. In one version of the practice, the children were rewarded with food or other treats if nobody could identify them. But hey, getting free candy sounds good to me. Number 3. Witches. America's witch scare, which culminated in the infamous Salem witch trials, were a series of hearings and prosecutions of people accused of witchcraft in colonial Massachusetts between February 1692 and May 1693. More than 200 people were accused, and 30 people were found guilty, 19 of whom were executed by hanging. Now, women vastly outnumbered the men in the ranks of the accused and executed. According to author Carol F. Carlson's The Devil in the Shape of a Woman, 78% of 344 alleged victims in New England were female. And even when men faced allegations of witchcraft, it was typically because they were somehow associated with an accused woman. Women held a precarious, mostly powerful position within the deeply religious Puritan community. The Puritans thought women should have babies, raise children, manage household life, and model Christian subservience to their husbands. Recalling Eve and her sinful apple, they also believed that women were more likely to be tempted by the devil. So when women were not behaving, they'd be accused of being a witch. It was incredibly misogynistic and a dark time in history. Number 2. Bad candy. Every time I finished trick-or-treating, my parents made me dump out all my candy so they could check for anything bad like needles, open candy, or drugs. Now, was this something just made up for fear-mongering, or did our parents just want to steal some of our candy? Well, it turns out there's some truth behind this. On Halloween 1974, Timothy O'Brien ate some Halloween candy that was spiked with cyanide. Now, to be fair, it was his father who spiked the candy, motivated by the huge life insurance on his son. ban. But razor blades, sewing needles, and even poison have been found in candy, as police forces across North America have reported cases of these objects in treats for decades. The first report of Halloween treats being tampered with in North America was in 1959. That Halloween, a California dentist named William Shy distributed 450 laxative-laced candies, which resulted in 30 people falling ill. He was later charged with the outrage of public decency and unlawful dispensing of drugs. Another high-profile case made headlines in 1964 when a 47-year-old mother in Green Lawn, New York named Helen Fell handed out bags of treats containing arsenic-laced ant traps, metal mesh scrubbing pads, and dog biscuits. Now, almost all tampering cases involve sharp objects rather than poisoning, and 3/4 of them resulted in no injuries, and the rest only resulted in minor injuries. No trick-or-treaters have ever died by eating a Halloween candy from a stranger, so that's good. And fun fact, trick-or-treating skyrocketed in popularity by the 1950s when Halloween became a true national event. Today, over 179 million Americans celebrate the holiday and spend about $9.1 billion annually in the process. And coming at number 1 is real Halloween decorations. Do you ever see someone's house decorated for Halloween and go, wow, those decorations are so good and look so realistic? Well, what if I told you that some decorations look so realistic because they are real? In 2015, an Ohio community was left in shock after a woman who had her life ended and was found hanging from a fence was mistaken for a Halloween decoration. Then in 2009, the porch of Mustafa Muhammad Zaid displayed a corpse around Halloween time. Now, his neighbors were impressed, but seeing how no one rang his doorbell to check up on him or asked where he purchased the prop, no one could tell that it was indeed their dead neighbor's body. When reported to police, it was discovered that Zaid was dead and rotting on his own porch with a gunshot wound to the head lodged in his eye socket. Now, 2014 was another bad year for convincing Halloween decorations, as when a man dragged a headless body out of his apartment and kicked the head onto the other side of the street, people thought it was a Halloween prank. Now, the truth only came to light later when a person tried to move the dead body out from the middle of the street and realized it was a real person. Not to mention all the hanging bodies over the years that people thought were decorations but were indeed real people. There are so many cases of this, and it is so disturbing. Well, that's all for our list of the top 10 terrifying Halloween real events never taught in school. Did you know about any of this? Let us know in the comments down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm your host, Emily, and we'll see you next time. Peace.